The recent Infinite blog is very revealing, and clears some of the fog, at least for me, surrounding Halo Infinite and why we haven't seen a great deal on the game. What do I mean by that? Well, when I see Halo Infinite, it doesn't really feel like any other game. Usually I see news of a game and instantly feel a certain way, whether that's excitement or disappointment, etc. When I see news of Halo Infinite, I am absolutely hyped.
God, I hope.
It looks stunning, expansive, and reminds me of the Halo glory days. But then there's this little voice in my head like, are you sure about that? The graphics are okay, but are they next gen? It's supposed to release in a few months and we don't even know much about anything, blah blah blah. You already know. I'm sure I'm not the only person that feels this way about Halo Infinite. The graphics in these screenshots are absolutely beautiful, but do they really represent next gen graphics? And I know it's a work in progress, so it will most likely look a lot better, especially with ray tracing. However, work in progress doesn't always mean it's going to look heaps better. I mean, Halo 5's graphics arguably decreased from its beta to the final game, due to what I can only assume was optimizing it to run smoothly on the underpowered console, of which Halo Infinite also has to run on. These are the sort of thoughts that shoot through my brain. And before I get carried away, this isn't a worried about Halo Infinite video, because this latest blog post was actually really good, and also made me come to a realization about the game, and more importantly, why we haven't seen much about it. Let me explain. I read this bit in the blog that basically goes in and talks about the cutscenes in the game and why they are being done in such a special way. Basically, the camera follows the chief at all times, so you'd think, okay, that's pretty cool, but that is being supported at basically every aspect ratio you could ever imagine. So if you have a 16:9 monitor, that's all fine and dandy, but if you go up to a 32:9 monitor, that's still going to play flawlessly depending on the monitor that you have. What makes this so special though is that all the cutscenes in the game have to be made in a very specific way. So even if you have a super wide monitor, you're not going to see any weird clipping, you're not going to see an animation that isn't playing in the background. All of this stuff is going to play flawlessly, and that support level is absolutely incredible to me. And I realized, maybe not realized, but reaffirmed something I already knew and had just forgotten. And that is, I don't know jack all about making a game. This is an issue that I wouldn't have ever thought about in a million years, impossibly easy to overlook from the outside. And you know that is just one of thousands of similar problems that arise from Halo Infinite's unique circumstances. Let's take a look at some of Halo Infinite's very particular circumstances. In order for Halo Infinite to satisfy modern monetization and content pipeline speeds, it needed a brand new engine. I imagine that's a huge amount of work. Infinite must also run on old hardware that Halo 5 struggled to run well on, but it must be bigger, better, and prettier than Halo 5. And that must be developed for the new generation of consoles and PC, which comes with its own unique set of issues. And to top it all off, Infinite is hit with a global pandemic right in the most crucial period of a game's development cycle, the final sprint. That's a pretty tall order, even for the most veteran devs. Now keep this all in mind because I want to reference a tweet from Postums who works at 343. While this obviously isn't a 100% accurate representation of the process, it's a nice insight to the scale of operations that go into making a game. Creative director, yes, we definitely need doors in this game. Project manager, I'll put time on the schedule for people to make doors. Designer, I wrote a doc explaining what we need doors to do. Concept artist, I made some gorgeous paintings of doors. Art director, this third painting is exactly the style of doors we need. Environment artist, I took this painting of a door and made it into an object in the game. Animator, I made the door open and close. Sound designer, I made the sound the door creates when it opens and closes. Audio engineer, the sound of the door opening and closing will change based on where the player is and what direction they are facing. Composer, I created a theme song for the door. FX artist, I added some cool sparks to the door when it opens. Writer, when the door opens, the player will say, hey look, the door opened. Lighter, there is a bright red light over the door when it's locked and a green one when it's opened. Legal, the environment artist put a Starbucks logo on the door. You need to remove that if you don't want to be sued. Character artist, I don't really care about the door until it can start wearing hats. Gameplay programmer, this door asset now opens and closes based on proximity to the player. It can also be locked and unlocked through script. AI programmer, enemies and allies now know if a door is there and whether they can go through it. Network programmer, do all the players need to see the door open at the same time? Release engineer. You need to get your doors in by 3 PM if you want them on the disk. Core engine programmer. I have optimized the code to allow up to 1024 doors in the game. Tools programmer. I made it even easier for you to place doors. Level designer. I put the door in my level and locked it. After an event, I unlocked it. UI designer. There's now an objective marker on the door and has its own icon on the map. Combat designer. Enemies will spawn behind doors and lay cover fire as their allies enter the room, unless the player is looking inside the door, in which case they will spawn behind a different door. Systems designer. A level 4 player earns 148 XP for opening this door at the cost of 3 gold. Monetization designer. We could charge the player 99 cents to open the door now or wait 24 hours for it to open automatically. QA tester. I walked to the door, I ran to the door, I jumped on the door, I stood in the doorway until it closed, I saved and reloaded and walked to the door, I died and reloaded and then walked to the door, I threw grenades at the door. UX/usability researcher. I found some people on Craigslist to go through the door so we could see what problems crop up. Localization. Door, puerta, porta, porte, tur, dar, dur. I don't know that word. Producer. Do we need to give everyone those doors or can we save them for a pre-order bonus? Publisher. Those doors are really going to help this game stand out during the fall lineup. CEO. I want you all to know how much I appreciate the time and effort put into making those doors. PR. To all our fans, you're going to go crazy over our next reveal. #GameTef, #doors, #NextGen, #retweet. Community manager. I let the fans know that their concerns about doors will be addressed in the upcoming patch. Customer support. A player contacted us, confused about doors. I gave them detailed instructions on how to use them. Player. I totally didn't even notice the door there. It makes it sound kind of like an impossible task when you put it like this. They are almost certainly going through development hell right now. Scrambling to get the build ready, I think that the lack of news that we've seen is simply a side effect of the order of priority. I have no doubt that these blog posts would have been a vidocs or sprints had our circumstances been different last year, and given that they've said that the gameplay demo took a lot of resources to get presentable for last E3, I think the slight lack of news is very normal right now. We're getting the sort of stuff that you can put together with an interview and a screenshot, while the real big hitters are being saved for E3 in June. Think of these blogs as appetizers. They're quick to make and get you ready for the main meal, E3. Perhaps I've just found a way to rationalize everything so it makes sense to me, but maybe I'm right. I guess we'll see in June. Remember that the devs are humans. People forget that very often. Remember that unless you've crunched on a AAA game during a global pandemic, you don't know jack shit about what you're talking or the logistics and complicated issues that go on behind the scenes. It's important to criticize sometimes. Feedback is certainly very valuable, but also remember to take everything into account and know that no matter what you criticize, there's probably some poor dev behind the scenes working their fingers to the bone that wishes you understood. So yeah, I think we're in for a treat at E3. I think the lack of news so far, or lack of reassurance, is a symptom of priorities. And don't get me wrong, I don't want to belittle the blog posts, they're great. I am beyond excited for Halo Infinite, and I have every faith in the team, but I felt like I needed to address that little voice in my head, just to shut them up. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed today's video. I love making videos like this, so if you do agree with me or disagree with me, make sure you drop a comment down below. Make sure you drop a like on the video and subscribe if you're not already. We're getting so close to 100,000 subscribers, so every new sub really does mean the world to me. But yeah, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye!